All right, welcome. Thanks for joining us for our last episode of Meetup with Morgan for 2017. Today we've got a few updates and a couple of announcements that we'd like to share with you. And as always, if you have any questions during the broadcast, you can text me at 720-391-1565, and that number is also listed below the video. Hand it over to Director Morgan, and we're going to get started.
Thanks, Kaylee. Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and getting ready for the Christmas holidays. Hopefully we'll get some moisture to make it look a little bit more like Christmas in Colorado over the next couple of weeks. So I also wanted to take a minute and thank everybody again for coming to the all hands meeting on Friday. We do want your feedback on things you'd like to see us do a little different, do a little better. You know, I think you've sensed a lot of what we're trying to do, as Melissa kind of alluded to, is, you know, create a culture within DFPC. And one is, as we kind of talked about, is that shoulder-to-shoulder accountability and getting to know your coworkers and the people you work with, to make it a more pleasant place to work. That's really what we're trying to do. And once we're more comfortable in our work environment, we're better served to take care of the public, which is the ultimate mission of what we're here to accomplish. So thanks again, everybody, for that, and look forward to hearing more. You know, that intentional culture that we talked about in strategic planning. You know, we're focused on that and want your feedback. I believe the first topic that you wanted to talk a little bit about was, of course, big news is California is having some problems out there again. Most folks are having a rough go of it this fall. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of them out there, and all of the citizens that are affected, and of course the first responders that are impacted, to bring them home safely. The update on that is there's kind of two things going on with this response, and we are supporting. First is the Ross request. There was a request for 5, or I believe they were actually task forces, requested through the Ross, the traditional interagency ordering system. That order was filled by RMAC, or the Rocky Mountain Area Coordination Center. 17 of the 25 engines were from Colorado, and I believe 4 of the strike team or task force leaders were from Colorado as well. So that order has been filled. Those folks are on the road, or actually got on the road yesterday, so probably about to roll in out there to help out. In addition, there was a request yesterday afternoon for the multi-mission aircraft to go out and help them and fly some intelligence missions and get kind of a handle on what's really going on out there. So 327 left yesterday afternoon, so we're supporting that as well. The other part of the request for assistance from California is coming through an EMAC request, so Emergency Management Assistance Compact request. We're working through those. We've had multiple conversations, conference calls on that, trying to drill into what they need, and you know, trying to support best we can with taking care of the folks in California and their needs, as well as making sure we're addressing the needs of the cooperators and the local agencies that would be providing assistance in that capacity as well. So there's a lot of folks out there. Don't know if because you probably don't have time, because you're working very hard to meet the need of the folks out there. And so thanks for what you're doing, what you have done, and we'll continue to do the right thing for Mrs. Smith. So, and I guess, do you want to continue to move on?
Yeah, we can continue to move on. Absolutely. Topic number 2.
And you know, of course, Kaylee has handed me a thing this morning. You know, here's talk just briefly about some things that we thought would be important to just kind of update the group on. And if you have those other things you'd like a crack at, I'm gonna get information for you on and get back with you, as Kaylee said. Please send that to her. But the next item is the Watch Center, which we need to give a little background on that. I think that was one that kind of got spooled up as maybe this is, a significant change in what's going on, and the reality is it's really not. And so I think a little background and information. It's significant and it's good, but I think for the real background behind it is Executive Director Hilke. Um, Several months ago, actually almost about a year and a half ago, I believe, started having conversations about wanting to have a watch center. And the nutshell essence of behind the watch center and what it's really trying to accomplish is rapid intelligence for CDPS leadership, or for the governor's office on breaking or emerging events. That's really the drive behind what that is. And of course, the watch center model has multiple sources that bring information in, that can then be rapidly disseminated to the folks that need to know that there's something going on or starting to happen. It's not intended to be anything like a media thing. It's not. It's for emerging events. Non-vetted information. So I think part of the reason behind that, and we understand that typically with, especially in paramilitary organizations, when a local agency has an emergency and that event's taking place, for the information to be cleared by leadership, i.e. the chief of the fire department, is just good to send out. And so we're waiting for press release type of information. And so the emerging part of things comes much later than what the Department of Public Safety leadership needs to have that information when something's emerging. So that was really the gist and the push. A couple of the more significant events recently that were spurred getting it done, and kind of pushed it a little to priority. Most of you are probably aware of the shooting at the Walmart in Thornton that took place, and it really becomes, it can become a safety issue for responders, and knowing, and waiting for the news channel to provide the information on suspect descriptions and those types of things. It's better to get it out, especially when you're in those areas where people could be, or a lot affected agencies, so you can get that information out quickly. So that was one of the examples. The other one was the shooting in Texas at the church, where the gentleman, the suspect, I say gentleman very loosely, the suspect in that, those weapons have been purchased in Colorado, which I'm sure everybody can understand, kind of spooled up how come and why. So it's situational awareness. It's getting good information, good situational awareness for the folks that need to have that information. As it got stood up on December 1st, DFPC has an employee in that group. It was changed to a 24/7 operation. Again, with the primary goal to be dissemination of information. A lot of the confusion is, and there's around the state emergency number, as it became this. Well, the state emergency number, when's it moving? And right now, the state emergency number is still in Colorado State Patrol Dispatch here in Denver. That has not changed. Myself, obviously, are committed. We're not going to move that until the folks that'll be potentially answering the phone, or answering the phone, are trained up, and they know what they're going to get when they pick up that phone. So the bottom line with it is that, from an external perspective, is it's supposed to be transparent. And until we have folks change, I don't know that there's 100% commitment. I think there's a high likelihood that state emergency number will transfer to the watch center at some point, until people are trained up and different things with that. There has been and some conversations, with DHSEM in particular. Will that watch center take the place of the duty officer? I'm not going to speak for Director Klein or anybody else on that. That's their decision on how they want to handle that. But I don't want that, if they do or they don't, I don't want that to be interpreted that is still to be determined. I think when you have a request for the multi-mission aircraft, for example, I think there's a lot of specific details and questions that it would be very difficult for a watch center analyst to ask. And I think that duty officer continues to be a critical role for what we do and the services we provide to local governments. So I feel that it's unlikely that we would go down that path. But we're open to discussions and conversations. I think those who maybe the things we're having a lot of conversations about is our notification systems of resources, i.e., dispatch centers. That can be enhanced or improved. So I think we're always open to looking at ways that we can do a better job. But we're not going to go backwards. It's got to be better than what we're doing. We're not going to do it. The next piece of that would be, eventually, and part of this, and some of the advertisements been out there about the Watch Center and getting the word out there, but standing up, is that it will be an information dissemination center. So I think we need to be clear that we keep everything separate. That if there's there's a telephone number that's being advertised about the Watch Center, and there are distribution groups through the Swift 911 system or through email distribution, and those are a work in progress and being built. And so again, there's two aspects. One is the out of there, who does it go to? And that's still a work in progress. And then it becomes the how do we get information in, always keeping the state emergency request for assistance from the state. That's a completely separate topic, that if and when we move those things around, which I was asked when, actually on a conference call day before yesterday, I was asked how long, if we were going to move that over, how long did I think that would take? And I was probably much more conservative than reality would be if we need to get it done. But my answer was, I would say we'd shoot for the 1st of February. Coming up on the holidays, there's a lot of things going on. This is a new program, the Watch Center, the system, all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where that number is answered from a state emergency line perspective, is because it should be transparent. Nobody should know the difference or even care where that number is getting answered, as long as they're getting the resources they need. So figure out what the roles and the processes and all of those things, and then train folks up that'll be answering the phones and doing those things, and then test. I think one of the things, not to go off on a war story, but I was involved with moving 3 different 911 centers, and physical location moving of 911 centers, and you see and you learn that those are things that you don't want to mess with. That when you do it, you've got to do it right. It's got to be planned, thought through, tested, evaluated, retested, reevaluated. You don't turn anything off until you turn the other one on, and you're making sure everything's working. And I view that state emergency line the same way. Lastly, on this would be the gathering of information, how that comes into the Watch Center. There's been some preliminary conversations on that. There's another one tomorrow. Conference call number yet, but anybody that wants to call into this, to call in, chime in, hear what's going on. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, there will be. It's actually, we're going to try to make this a joint call with folks from multiple divisions on the call, to kind of talk about some of that. And again, without to put it in its most simplistic, if this is likely to impact the Department of Public Safety leadership, if it's likely to office or has a significant value of loss of life or property, um, or political values, those types of things that are going to be controversial things to get relayed up. And we'll be working through some of those processes, and there's a draft list out there, and we'll get that distributed as well. But it's again a work in progress, and we'd like to get everybody else's thoughts. So if you have questions on that, please let me know. Send me a note, and I think that was one of those that was a pretty benign thing. That hey, we're standing this thing up. Real good communication around what it meant. So we're trying to fix all of that. It's pretty transparent. It's good stuff. It's exciting stuff. The information, again, the baseline of things with something was happening, an emerging event. All of these streams of text messages going, coming from the troopers, coming from the fire management officers, coming from Homeland Security field managers, and it was like, okay, we need to get streamlined, make it rapid, and we're working again through those details and protocols that you don't have to get everything cleared by your chain of command. If something big is happening, it's okay if Stan gets it before I do, because it's going to come out at the same time to all of us. Get it to the watch center, it comes out, we're all aware, and we'll get the same information, can start making critical decisions. So that's it in a nutshell.
Excellent. It's exciting. All right. I think we're going to move into the strategic planning. So is there an update on the strategic plan, or what are the next steps?
As I think Melissa kind of alluded to at the all hands meeting, and probably in an update, a lot of the the drive and the way the job description was written for the chief of staff was really to pick that up and run with it. So we're getting that reframed, and there's several folks that are going through workload analysis and different projects, so we're getting back up and moving. And it just came down to there wasn't a change in commitment to it. It became a lack of hours in the day to get to everything. So that is coming back to life. There's a lot of the sections that are starting to look at the tactical types of things and starting to get into more of the goal setting, and that's really where we're headed in those directions. So it's really exciting stuff. And again, going back to that's part of why we're doing a lot of the things with the culture, the intentional culture, and trying to make that environment, is that it's our organization, it's your organization, and we very much want your thoughts, ideas on how do we make it better, how do we make it more successful, and that often becomes very strategic. Okay, well, if we want to get here, then we've got to do X, Y, and Z. And when you have 15 X's and 12 Y's and 3 Z's, what's the most important X? We'll work through that together. So we start getting shared common vision, and we start pulling in the same direction, and pull each other, we work for each other or with each other, and we pull together as a team in the same direction. So I'm super excited about it. It is time, really, it happen immediately, or it'll take a little while, but we need to revisit, okay, some of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, challenges, what's out there, what things have changed. We need to be, we're starting some other things, with a wildlife committee to try to re-engage some of our stakeholders. What are their expectations? So we're off and running.
So we've got a couple of questions. One, we'll start with, are there any specific metrics or accomplishments that have been made so far in regards to the strategic plan?
I think we're still in um, stage on that, for lack of better terms. Like there's things going on like workload analysis. There's regular conversations and work being done around that, which is kind of the scenes type of things. We've got to figure out what we have, what they're doing, and those types of things. There's work happening. It's not big and bold yet. You can feel the momentum building. You can feel the energy. There's a lot of conversations around with Mark and about really figuring out the how do we get those trailers moved around everywhere we need them, traction, and there's pieces and parts that come to justification of requests and those types of things. Um, it's all of us in this industry are typically we'll get it done people, and we're not real patient. We just assume that, again, the simplest way to put it and kind of what we're doing in the process and why it's important, especially with so many other interests, is excuse me, is the goal is not to buy a fire truck. The goal is to enhance the quality of life. Smith, and so we're trying to make sure that we capture that outcome decision. How does this impact this? And the fire truck becomes a tool to accomplish that. And I think really that's what we're doing in all of these. Is that how are we with training in these live fire props? How many people can we impact positively in rural communities that don't have access to good quality training? And what does that mean in the prop, and how many times we make it available as a means to accomplish that? So.
All right, we're going to take a quick step back. We just got a question. Who is our Watch Center employee?
Oh boy, we do have one. They told me her name, and she just started on the 1st, and she is in the kayak, which is across the hallway from us. I have not physically met her, and I'm embarrassed to say I don't.
She's a kayak employee.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. She's a DFEC employee that works in the kayak center, which the Watch Center is in the kayak. That's where it's housed. So just across the hall from us, and we will be very purposeful in making sure that we. Part of that was that we wanted to make sure that it was clear that we had a dog in this fight. That we have needs, we have things that the fire service specifically needs that we as an organization need, and those need to be addressed. And I will follow up with that, and I will get that out in email, a conversation, and see if we can get a picture of the new employee and get that sent out so everybody knows what she looks like too. She was a little more background. She has been the kayak, so she was, for lack of better terms, volunteering to help with that. So it was a good opportunity with somebody that was very familiar with the operation, what was trying to be accomplished. So they went through the process, and we hired her.
Excellent. Great. All right, I think we've just got a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to close.
Okay. Quick announcements. A couple things coming up here. Next Tuesday, we will go in front of the Joint Budget Committee to discuss our programs and some questions they had, and several questions around how we can do better, which again is kind of really it's good things that we're being asked that, and we'll be using kind of back to the strategic plan. We're going to be using a lot of the surveys that were done to provide that information and feedback. We'll also be doing that to engage our stakeholders more. We can really dig into what do those types of things mean and how can we best meet those. And again, that's where the workload analysis, what resources do we have? How are they being utilized? Do we have the resources currently to provide those types of things? So it's all coming together with that. So the Joint Budget Committee meeting next week, we'll be actually working on questions this afternoon that they've given to us to be prepared to talk about on Tuesday. Then we have an executive management team meeting with all of the departments to talk about all of the questions that each of the divisions got, so we can answer those. The other thing is, of course, the Center of Excellence, the director position, closes December 12th at 5 o'clock p.m. So please spread that wide and far. That is a part of our operation, and being smarter about how we do business and doing things the right way in a changing world, in a changing environment. That play a critical role in us doing a better job proving the effectiveness and using technology to help us be more efficient, save lives and property. So those are the big things that I have. Unless you have any other questions that kind of popped up.
Just a little plug for COE. If you go to our newsletter, they are doing some really great work with CDOT, and on our newsletter there's some pictures and some video footage of a project that they're working on with CDOT. So take a look at that whenever you have a chance. I don't know if you have any closing statements for the last Meetup with Morgan of 2017. Yes.
Well, I guess thanks for your time. Those that are able to be on here and take a look at this. I can't tell you how much of an honor it is to work with and for you guys, and it's such an outstanding group of men and women that selflessly give to others to enhance their quality of life and make Colorado a better place. It's truly an honor to be here. Merry Christmas. The holidays are coming up. Happy New Year. Be safe out there. Spend some time with your family. Keep your work-life balance in check. I'm doing that too. I'm going to spend a few days with my family too. So, and then I think the next meetup we're going to do is in next quarter,
early March.
Early March is what we're shooting for. So again, I think one of those, if you have questions, to me and that we can address. We're working hard on being better at communicating and getting important information out there as best we can, and ideas or thoughts. And communications is a two-way street. So if you have questions, comments, concerns,
send me your ideas for newsletter names. We are not going to stick with the FPC newsletter anymore. It's a little boring, a little dry. So send me your thoughts by December 29th. Tell me your ideas.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
happy holidays.
Thank you. Send me an email if you have any questions. I'll be posting this and sending it out in a follow-up email in the next couple of hours. So thank you guys.
Thanks.